I see fusion in the future, in the near future. Fusion of two disciplines, testing and RPA in the one software automation industry
Oh,
discipline.
absolutely. They're all coming
I
together.
was I was one of the first. I was a part of the Gartner Tech CXO team, and I spoke with the analysts enormous time, and I was always advocating. I said, "Listen, you guys are very advanced analysts. People know you, they trust your opinion. I'm a big fan of Gartner. I love them, and you have to take the mission to tell the industry the future, as you always do." They told me the world is not ready for that. And you, if you was, you won't have enough budget to deliver this message. But I can tell you, humanity moves based on the crisis. Make sense? We facing the crisis. It's not only me. We had Anna last time, and she's all in the investing community and all the decision makers, right? And I'm talking from, always to the executives because the velocity of the technology appeals to this level of decision making. So, board of directors adjusting the budget to AI productivity because it's not measurable completely. They take in, let's say, ballpark 20, 30%. That it all goes down to the budget cuts and productivity increase. So basically, conversation goes to the C-level directors and the other, right? Down the stream. Hey, guys, next year, you have a budget 20% figuratively speaking, right? 20% lesser. Go figure it out with the less salaries. But never mind, we expected 20% more productivity with all the AI help. So go find the AI solutions, adjust your processes toward that so you can deliver to our expectation. Yeah, I don't know if you see different. You're always talking to the executive. I know that you have an upper level consultant.
Yeah. So now my observations are aligned with that. I think there's a couple of dynamics here that we're still trying to. We're still in the early stages. We're have to figure out what's going on. One of the things I think is impressive, and this is going to get into the weeds a bit, is that a lot of very sophisticated, mature organizations, especially in like financial services, they're not taking their AI budgets out of cash flow. They're not saying, how are we going to spend what we earned in the past 12 months? They're actually looking at repurposing their reserves, right? So monies that they've had for rainy days, they are doubling down on this. So this is a very strong indication that they really, 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 really do mean it. You know, that's going to be interesting. We also have a FOMO factor, fear of missing out, that's going on. And it's kind of hard to tell when somebody's jumping in the deep end of the pool because they think it's a good idea, or they're jumping in the deep end of the pool because they think somebody's chasing them. You know, these dynamics are often hard to figure out. And we've seen it with the adoption of the internet. We saw it with the adoption of the web, right? We've seen it with other forms of technology adoption. This one seems to be less crazy than we've seen in other times. Maybe having been through it too many times, it just doesn't feel as chaotic. I don't know. But it's the dynamics and the industry are going to work themselves out. But it's very, very clear AI, if you're in technology and you have anything to do touching with software, you're going to be disrupted. The question is only how.
You know, I wanted to ask you, we didn't chat about it in the past, but I think it's a good place to ask you this question. What I see on the market, to be honest, and I handle all the opportunities myself, basically, to a certain degree, right? And with the whole pressure of productivity delivery to improve using trying to catch up with the AI speed of information, make sense? Corporations still guarding vendors to be onboarded. So that when we go to the opportunity, one of the biggest challenges of any manager before they even get into evaluation, it's to get you on the vendor list, because the corporation have these drastic regulations about vendor onboarding. And the problem that we see, even the managers need the technology. And that's not only for me. I'm pretty sure for any other of my competitors or any other technologists in general on the market, the same story. They're not able to move very fast with that, because the average onboarding and sourcing take about 90 days. Exactly. Make sense? So what do you take on that? How our enterprise in the States predominantly gonna solve it?
All right. So let me give you a couple parts to the answer. First of all, what I've known from dealing with executives for many, many years, that usually one call or one email kind of takes care of the entire process, right?
Well, if they play golf with you, they recognize your name, right? So again,
I had an incident many years ago that put me it almost floored me. I got off the phone with an executive at Time Warner. We agreed to do some work. I get a call from one of his folks not too long ago, and asking me a pile of questions. I'd have the answers in front of me, and they told me very flat out, said, "I have an SVP telling me I can't go home until you're set up in my system."
Well, Alex, they like you there. That's one of the cases. I'm talking about general trend, not just. Right. I mean, I'm a special ops guy. I know how to bypass the steps, so no problem. I got you there. I'm talking about everybody, normal people, not just.
There's a point. I'm trying to tell you the story here for a reason. So you can subvert these processes when there's demand, and I've seen that happen because of interest in AI. Right, so you see that happening. The other part of it is the foundational flaw that I deal with a lot around third-party risk management and AI governance in this particular space is they try to do it brute force, and they try to treat all vendors as equal. I have 5,000 vendors. I have 10 people. I can do 5 vendors a week. I got 10 people. I could do 50 vendors a week. It's going to take, what is that, 70? That's going to take 70 weeks, a year and a half to clear out our backlog. That is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Organizations need to determine a stack ranking of, if you're doing third-party risk management, what's the risk level and what level of due diligence you apply to it. If you're working on AI, it's similar. And by the way, this is one of the things the EU AI Act does really, really well. It stacks out use cases by risk level. It goes from anywhere from we don't care, like video games, to don't even think about it, right? And the amount of guardrails and the due diligence you do on each of those levels changes. We need to do the same thing around vendor acquisition and adoption. One of the things that I recommend is organizations categorize those use cases. And if you fit into one of the use cases that's considered lower risk and you're using pre-approved tools, right? You don't need a blessing to go and pursue it. You need to inform us, keep us informed, invite us to all the design reviews, keep us aware of what's going on. But the vendor community is no longer a gate in the process. You've got all these kind of pre-approvals done. And what that does is, for the vendor folks, they could do their more robust due diligence on the ones that are truly sensitive for one reason or another.